yeah, basically I'm just going to be transferring these notes as I go and I explain everything. And yeah. Where are the bullet points? There it is. Alright. So, first thing I should do is kind of define what I mean by depression. Depression is, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but like, gosh, it's it's like it's almost like you're drowning in like a sea of just negativity or like sorrow, or it could just be even like that you're just like numb to feeling. Also, one thing I want to say for sure is that like it's not just being like a little sad every now and then. It's like I don't know. It's like it's hard to explain. Um, but it's not. It's like if you woke up one day and found out that one of your family members had died, but it was like that every day for like months, and that kind of like I don't like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. Yeah. All right. And obviously I'm not like, that's not like a perfect definition or anything, but it's not I don't know, it's not something that just kind of like goes in and out, or not like goes in and out, but like it's not like something like, oh, just one day you're like really sad and so therefore you're depressed. It's something that happens like for like a few days, or maybe even a week or a month, or even longer depending on what's going on. But then let's see what else. And then okay, defining what I mean by getting out of depression. What I mean by getting out of depression is like, it's like if you woke up one day and it was like, wow, things don't totally suck. There's a few things, and it's not, and there's also a difference between like being able to logically like say that, wow, things don't or like, the world isn't all that bad and blah blah blah. And then there's a difference between actually like feeling that way, right? And the goal is to actually feel like not everything is shit. And it's not to say that like we're here to make everything feel like butterflies and rainbows and shit, because it's not. Life just doesn't work that way. And that's just not the world works. Or just not how the world works. But it's trying to get to a point where it doesn't have to be any more intolerable than it has to be. Okay. Yeah, we'll start out with that. Let's see. Okay. Oh shit. Depression. And then we'll say Sea of Sorrow. Sea of Sorrow. Long-term and extreme sadness. Extreme sadness. And then, okay, so like, I'll just put like, the goal of this video, which is like what I mean by getting out of depression. The goal of this video. For you to be able to one day able to like everything sucks. Everything sucks. All right. And then, okay, the first thing I would say is that you have to have some sort of responsibility. So, yeah, we'll do first now. Or, no, hold on. Do first. All right. Some responsibility. And you have to actually, like, and this isn't some responsibility. And this is like carry something that's reasonable, okay? It doesn't mean like go and like if you can barely wake up in the morning, then maybe the only responsibility for that day, or not even for that day, but just when you wake up, which is a bad habit of like saying, today I need to make my bed, because then you're like, oh, well, I can just do it in an hour. I can do it 3 hours, and so on and so forth until, bam, you're about to go back to sleep, and then you're like, well, I'm about to go back to sleep and just mess it up anyway, so there's literally no point in doing it, and then you never do it, and then you go to bed, and then you feel like shit about not doing it, because it's such a simple task. And also, one of the big things is that, like, just because something is simple doesn't mean you should devalue the act of doing it. Because if anything, those simple things, the small details, are the difference between slowly climbing out or getting dug back down and farther and farther. So it just literally, even if it's just waking up and putting your bed together, and that's it. That's like, take some step, okay? And then maybe the next day, you, I don't know, instead of making your bed, you go and you, I don't know, do some dishes. Or maybe you go out and you apply to a job, or maybe you start doing a little bit of your schoolwork, whatever it may be. Slowly take some responsibility that you're able to and do it, you know? And obviously this is a lot easier said than done when you're in that state. When everything feels like it's like against you and like the world just sucks, yada yada yada. It's very important, not necessarily, obviously, like, sorry, I'm still trying to put this together. But it's like, it's very important, not necessarily to celebrate your winning of it, because I mean, you can if you want, but it is very important to value the little wins, because if you can slowly do one thing and then maybe you do another, it feels nice, and it gives you some ability to be like, maybe I'm not completely useless. And that is something in itself. I'm not really doing a good job of like keeping like saying all this shit, but I think we'll just stick to the basics for the notes. Just making sure you're on it. Okay. And then let's see. All right. The second thing is kind of the opposite of the responsibility. It's also, gosh, I spelled that wrong. Can I? Okay, bam. Sorry. Anyway, if you couldn't tell by now, I have ADHD and my mind's going places. But the second thing is kind of the opposite, but not exactly. And it's learning to say no slash having boundaries. Yeah, okay. Learning to say no slash having boundaries. And what does this mean? Learning to say, okay, well, we'll start with learning to say no. Like, say you took on some responsibility, and say you start doing the chores, or you start doing some chores. Okay, we'll say it's doing the dishes. And then, sorry, I'm just noticing things randomly. Anyway, say it's noticing, or no, you have to do the, or not you have to, but you're doing the dishes, okay? And that's your responsibility. But then say someone else is and ask you, say, hey, can you do the dishes, and then also can you sweep up the floor, right? Learning to say no is important, because not only do you need to be able to say no, you also need to be able to accept other people's no. Because at the end of the day, you shouldn't expect to get everything that you want, and you shouldn't expect other people to get everything they want from you, because that's not realistic. And then having boundaries is kind of on the same bread, but it's more like, if you find people constantly try and demean you for saying no, or they try and manipulate their way into getting you to say yes, then you should really reconsider those relationships. And you should, and you, well, not should, you need to learn when to say no and have a hard, this can't happen, blah blah blah. Which, and also a lot of people are like afraid of people, say, like, you tell your friends that you can't go to blah 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 because you're already going out with some other people, and then they're like, just cancel the plans, blah blah blah, we're more important, blah 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 blah, right? Well, you need to be able to say no to those people, because if they don't respect that, then, like, really, do you really want those friends in the first place, and this also even goes as far as to like family members. Like, I had a terrible stepmother, and she basically hated me and did everything that she possibly could to make my life miserable. Granted, I did the exact same thing back after I started to realize what she was doing. But anyway, as soon as I could, I left that house. because why wouldn't I? It was best for everyone, and it's just, and it's like, your life is worth not throwing it away because someone else is being a dick. And you shouldn't let other people have control of your lives like that. And obviously, if you're like a child and you have controlling parents and shit like that, like there's not really much you can do about it until you get out. But after you get out, it needs to be like, no, like this is going to be the way it is. If it's not like that, then I'm sorry, I can't have a relationship with you. And it's like, that's tough, but there's other people you can have relationships with. There are other human beings that are out here, and you just shouldn't force a relationship. That being said, though, part of this is also, I'm gonna put this as a third, is that like part of number 2 is that you need to be able to have a friend group, or not friends, make friends / co-workers, whatever. Workers or / general acquaintances. Friends / coworkers. Okay, we'll just leave it as friends / coworkers. And that's really important because when you're bogged down in the idea that like you could lose someone, or that it's like, or let me rephrase it. When you're bogged down in the idea that you could lose someone that's very important to you because you're trying to set boundaries, and that you're not trying to let them walk all over you, it's made a lot easier if you have a support system, whether if it be friends or coworkers. And that is one of the benefits of going and doing that. It's just that, like, because people are like wired to have relationships and like be social and stuff, which is like why a lot of people in the pandemic has all become like depressed and stuff, is because we naturally want to be around other people. And so it's very it makes saying no a lot easier to have friends and coworkers, when you have friends and coworkers. Oh, okay. Fourth one. Not telling lies. And keep in mind, this is different from, or I'm saying this specifically different from telling the truth, because not telling a lie is a lot easier than just telling the truth. And it's a lot more realistic. And what I mean, well, like, what is the difference? Okay. Like, not telling a lie is like, and I'm not saying, you can go and tell the truth to everyone if you want. Go for it. I'm not telling you not to. But I'm telling you not to outright lie. Because if you don't outright lie, then you have a little bit of stability in your life. Or let me rephrase this, a little bit more stability in your life. It may not be much, but the little things matter. The little things are the difference between getting out of depression and staying in it, or even suicide. And keep in mind, as far as telling lies, I'm one to talk, because I used to tell every lie in the book. And I mean, I practically had to, because of the environment I was in. And, well, when you don't tell lies, your mind doesn't have to work as hard at little things, and it makes like making friends easier, and doing like simple things a lot easier. And it's a little less stressful. And obviously you don't have to follow this if you don't want to, but it surprisingly does help. And I wasn't really gonna do it for a long time, but because I was like, but I want to get away with it, and yada yada yada. But even if you get away with it, which, unless if you're really good, most people don't, you also don't really get away with it, because you feel guilty inside. Like, some part of you feels guilty inside, even if it's deep buried down and you can't realize it. It's still there, and it still operates in the background, and little things. Also, okay, so the next thing I'm going to go into is, okay, we're going to insert a little, no, a table. We'll do a 2x5, okay? So that's the title, blah, blah, blah. Alright, so there's 2 types of treatment. Actually, can I... Okay. I don't know, whatever. How do I don't know. I don't know how to do this, but okay. We'll say 2 types of treatment for depression. For depression. Alright, and then we'll put this, then we make this right, yep. Alright, 2 types of treatment for depression, okay? And I don't know what to call these yet, so we'll figure that out later, but we'll call short term, long term. There we go. Alright, short term, long term. We have, alright, working out. working out is um, proven to be just as effective, if not more effective, in a lot of cases than like antidepressants. Meditation is like apparently the cure, or not apparently, but it is like, I don't know, it helps with like most psychological things. It's really weird, but it does. Antidepressants, diets, long-term therapy. Did I spell it wrong? Therapy, facing your past. Having long-term goals. All right. Long-term goals. Therapy, not facing your past. Therapy. All right. Yes. Okay. That's working out is proven to like help with like a lot of things, and it does help. Like, and keep in mind when I say short term, this is probably like 2 weeks. Like you start doing this, and you'll see you'll see a difference. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Cerebello. Sleep. Like most of this will take like 2 weeks to set in, and bam. Although, like antidepressants, kind of like, yeah, I don't know. They take some time, so maybe I don't really. Maybe antidepressants are over here long term. But the reason why I'm putting these over here is just like, all right, meditation helps with like most things, diet, because gosh, I was watching a Dr. K video, and one of the things was like basically that how they took, gosh, I don't remember what animal it was. I think it was a rat, I think. Yeah, I think it was a rat. And so they took a depressed rat, they took out his stomach, and then put a healthy rat's stomach in there, and then when he woke up, he wasn't depressed. So diet's like, so the idea is like diet's important, and you know it really is. And also, when I'm saying diet, I'm not meaning like going and like, you can't have carbs, you can't have this, you can't have that, you can't blah blah blah, no sugar, no fat, blah blah blah. I mean, I don't mean that. I mean go like, maybe eat a little less sugar. Maybe if you eat an entire box of cookies every day, maybe like 2/3 of that. Sorry, I thought I heard my door open. If you, I don't know, maybe start eating some grilled chicken instead of fried, or little things like that. It's not that you have to be like perfect. It's not, yeah, you have to always be healthy, but it's like change a little bit, do a little bit, you know. And then sleep. Obviously, if If you're like dead exhausted every night, then you're just not going to feel good. And that's just the way it is. And so these are for more like immediate results that you can like see in like a few weeks. Long-term, responsibilities. Responsibility, boundaries. Boundaries. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna need more for this. Insert row below. Then insert. Okay. Boundaries. And then making friends. Not telling lies. All right. And okay, so you kind of see the difference here. It's like this long-term stuff is not going to make you feel good in a few weeks. Maybe even not a month. But it's like eventually at some point when you get in that, and it's not even that it's necessarily to make you feel good. It's that when you get in a depression and you're facing that demon, right? And you know, he's like, whatever, like you suck and blah blah blah, and that like, you know, everyone would be better without you and blah blah blah, right? It's like building this stuff to be able to say like, look at this, I have some friends, you know, I don't tell lies, you know, if I can tell people no and they respect it, then why can't I tell myself no? You know, why? Like, because if you can tell other people no, then you can for sure as hell tell yourself no. You know? And also, it's also like the long-term goals. It's like when you're with that demon, you just be like, maybe I could accomplish this. It's like, who knows? Maybe that's a pipe dream. But at the same time, though, what if? You know? What if is a really powerful thing. Actually, that's something. What if? You know, like I used to tell this to myself all the time when I was in the deep dark of hell. Which was just like, basically I was like going through mental warfare. And I was like, you know, what if I could survive this shit, right? Like, what if I could come out the other side and not be devastated? Or honestly, what if I could just come out the other side? What if I could survive this? What if I could go on to do great things? Or just, what if I could wake up one day and just have a smile? What if? Because when you start that what if, it's like, well, why not? You know? Why couldn't it happen to you? You know? Alright, well, I'm glad you like it, Aqua. I don't know. Also, one thing I probably want to go back and mention is like facing your past. That's actually facing you and your past. Okay? That's like, you gotta go and you gotta, you can't ignore that shit. Because if you ignore it, it's gonna be in the background, and it's gonna eat you up slowly by slow. Surely you'll never realize it, or even maybe it's not even eating at you at all, and it's just dormant. But one day it's gonna come back up, and if you face it now, it's not to say that it won't come back up, but at least you'll be prepared. At least you'll be able to say, I've already dealt with you once, I can deal with you again. Or, and then like facing you is like, okay, if you're fat, like you have to just be real with yourself and say, I'm fat. Because if you don't have a problem, then how are you going to fix it? You can't. It's not going to happen. And like, okay, for example, like for me, like I'm bad at Siege. Top 10 at aim labs, but I'm bad at Siege, Lamau. And that's real. I know I can't explain to you why. Still trying to figure that shit out, but it just is. And you just gotta and like, for example, my long-term goal is to be the best, right? Fuck, I forgot where it's at. Oops. But anyway, oh yeah. Facing you and your past. So you got to like face that shit, because if you can face it now and you can go through that shit and you can just be like, you know, I'm not where I'm at, or I'm not where I want to be. I'm not this, I'm not that. Blah blah blah, right? When other people try and go and pick you apart, cuz like you know yourself better than anyone else. And you and your mind knows yourself better than anything else, and it's going to pick at you everything. There's going to be a shit ton of stuff that's just like, this isn't right, blah 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 blah, right? And if you can go through all that shit, there's not a bully in the world that will be able to fuck you up more than your mind will. So if you can go through what your mind can pick at you and say, you know what, I'm working on this. When you can do that, you can laugh along with the bully. You can say, you know, that's just part of life. I'm getting better. What are you doing? You know? And yeah, I mean, um, y'all got anything? Yeah, I saw that shit. Boop a doop. If y'all have any questions, just let me know. If not, I'll probably just go ahead and end the stream there. I think I've been streaming for a minute. But yeah. How was it playing ranked with Bubs? Oh god.